everyone, don't worry, you're not on the wrong channel. This is That Kate Girl, and today I decided to do something a little bit different for my first video back in a while. Forgive me in advance for my audio. I have a lot of background noise right now, and I'm not really in a great setup for audio since I don't normally do it, but hopefully we'll make it through relatively painlessly. Since I started this channel, I have really wanted to show building in different mediums because I don't just like to build in The Sims 4. I also like to build in other different games like House Flipper, and as you'll see today, in a game called Second Life. So normally on my channel, as you can probably tell, I do almost exclusively stop motion builds because that's personally my preference. However, for builds in Second Life, the functionality for building and for taking video or images and things of that nature is pretty different. So stop motion just wasn't really an option, but I really still wanted to show this format as something a little bit different because it's something that I really enjoy doing, and I like to kind of bounce between the two because it's a very similar sort of experience, but the actual act of building is a little bit different. And I found that in Second Life, the building is a little bit more precise, and it's like building exclusively with custom content. So that's something that I've always enjoyed. So don't worry, I won't be talking your ear off the entire video, but I did feel like for the first and maybe only video in this format, we'll see how it does and what the response is, but I thought that a little bit of intro and explanation would probably be in order. So let's go ahead and get into it. As you can see from the actual video, I've already gotten started with the build, and for those of you who aren't familiar with Second Life, who have never played in it or been a part of it or maybe even heard of it, I always consider it kind of like a social Sims game. People use it for all different sorts of things. It can be a little bit infamous for different sides of the world, but for me, it's always had a lot of the same elements that I get out of The Sims. So avatar creation, obviously building, photography, and also writing, because there's a very large roleplay community. I've always been able to really use it as a creative outlet for a lot of the different hobbies that I like to do. So one super interesting thing, at least to me, about building within Second Life is that everything is actually user created. So it's like building entirely with custom content that somebody 3D modeled and textured and did all of this work for. And the cool thing about Second Life is that the people who do that are able to sell their creations, and a lot of them, if they are very good and get very popular, they can actually create entire livings from their stores. And I think that that's something that I really appreciate about it. A lot of people kind of find it kind of as a drawback because it is obviously more expensive because you're spending money per item that you buy. But I really enjoy being able to support the creators who put that much time and effort into the stuff that they produce. And a lot of people are really, really talented, and it's really great to be able to see them reaping the benefits of that talent in a way that they enjoy, in a way that brings other people a lot of enjoyment and fun. So that's one thing that I've always enjoyed. There is an entire economy within the game, and obviously people will buy things like, clothes and houses and furniture and decor and what have you. And then the creators can actually take that out, so they can actually make a living, which is really cool to me. And it's a little bit of a detriment to the game as a whole, I think, because obviously it's not as accessible when people are just starting out, since you are putting money in and buying items from people, and it's not just like buying a DLC from a developer and getting all of this content or something. But if you're around for a while, you end up accumulating things, and then eventually you have way too much stuff in your inventory like I do, and can just go to town decorating random things like you see I'm doing here. So the actual decorating process is a little bit different in Second Life as opposed to in The Sims or in other games like that, because in The Sims, you're building an entire structure. You're planning out the landscaping, you're planning out where all the walls go, and you're building that building, and then you're also decorating and doing all of that secondary stuff. Whereas in Second Life, any buildings or anything that you have already been pre-made. You can build, obviously, if you're a builder, if you're skilled in making 3D models, or even if you want to do like rudimentary walls and textures, you can do that. But for the most part, if you're building something, you're pretty much furnishing something that somebody has already made. So as you can see, as I did here, I had already had a house that I already had in my inventory, somebody pre-made, and I'm just decorating it with stuff that I had. And the actual process of placing items and decorating is kind of a love-hate scenario for me. I like to go back and forth between The Sims and Second Life because the process is so different. In The Sims, it's a little bit easier to find things, and it's easier to place things as a whole, but you're definitely a lot more limited as far as how you can place things and where. And if you're not willing to use mods like the tool mod, or even just like cheats like free move, or like the move objects cheat, then it's going to be a little bit more difficult to do more homey or cluttered looks, which I tend to gravitate toward. So sometimes I do prefer doing things in Second Life because it's not really on a grid. You place things wherever you want to, at whatever height you want to, because you're moving things, yes, technically on a grid with arrows, but it's not locked to a grid. So if you want to overlap things, then you can definitely do that. If you want to put things at every different place floating in the air, you can do that, and it's a little bit easier to do that than in The Sims. The only issue is that it's a little bit more tedious because you are moving everything individually by using that grid, and you're not just like dragging and dropping like you would be in The Sims. So it takes a little bit longer, and there's also a lot more just random searching and scrolling through your inventory. So the process takes quite a bit longer, I found, than doing anything in The Sims. Even going straight from building entire structure and doing all the decoration takes typically a shorter amount of time than just decorating a place in Second Life, because I'm not going by pictures. I have to like scroll through a bunch of different folders and try to find exactly what I want, and it's a little bit more of a process. So I do have a love-hate relationship with it. I like the precision that I can get in Second Life when I'm decorating, because I can move things exactly where I want, because I do have OCD tendencies. It's very satisfying to me to be able to get things exactly where they need to be and get the shadows perfect and all of that stuff. So I did definitely take a lot longer to get things right, because things aren't just kind of locked into place, but I do like having the freedom that does come with that tedious placement of objects. I've also just always preferred the look of custom content, more specifically alpha custom content, just because I like the more realistic nature of those models. And that's something that I really enjoy about the Second Life decorating, because everything that I have, well, most things, depends on the creator, obviously, and their style, but a lot of things have been gravitating more towards that sort of style, just like more realistic, more high quality textures. And so the final result just typically looks really nice. It's very aesthetically pleasing, and I really enjoy that and appreciate that. So that's why sometimes I tend to gravitate more towards decorating something in Second Life, but because of how long it takes and how tedious it is, sometimes I don't really want to put in the time, so I just go right back to Sims. But what's nice about Second Life is typically I'm decorating for a reason. It's my own personal home or the home of a roleplay character, something along those lines. So it's a lot of fun when I have a reason to do it. But sometimes if I just have a random urge, I end up giving up because it does take quite a long time and that's not really sustainable. So I hope that you guys enjoy seeing this little snippet into a world that maybe you're not very familiar with, or if you are, seeing somebody in the process of decorating. I tried to cut out a lot of the time that I spent just randomly scrolling through my inventory because there was a lot of that and it was very boring. And if you'll notice in the final shots, there's a lot of landscaping that I put down. I took this footage a while ago. I'm not entirely sure why I didn't film that part, but I did put down a lot of trees and grass in a path or something along those lines. So you'll see those in the final shots, and even though you won't see the actual footage of it being done, you will see a final piece at the very end. So stay tuned to see those final photos, or skip to those. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people do that with speed builds. I've never done a speed build before because they're so long. But before I go into the music, let me know if you actually enjoy this. I know that a lot of Sims people are not super familiar with Second Life, or if they've heard of it, they might not have built in it or seen a lot of builds in it. So if this is something that interests you or you'd like to see more builds, I don't do a lot of active builds. I mainly have photos of builds that I've done, but I would definitely consider taking more footage the next time that I'm actually building something. So let me know if it's something you're interested in. If not, I'm not offended because this is obviously a huge deviation from the type of content I'm normally comfortable putting out. But I hope that you guys enjoy it anyway and get to see something that you may not have had a chance to see before. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna throw some music in here so you can sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of the build. Bye guys. bye.